Hi everyone, it's Katarina from For Purpose. I'm really excited that you're all able to join us this month for our September webinar. And our September webinar is Social Media for Your For Purpose Organisation. Now, we've still got a few people to join us, but we'll kick off on time because I know how important and precious time is. So I want to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land in which we meet today. I'm in Canberra, so I'd like to acknowledge the Ngunnawal people and pay my respect to their elders past and present. And I'd like to introduce to you all Colin Anstey from Raging Digital. Colin will be delivering the webinar today and I'll let him introduce himself. Now, I'm sure that you'll all have lots of questions throughout the session, so please jot down the questions in the message box at the bottom corner of your screen and we'll answer those questions at the end. And so Colin is a social media guru and he works with not-for-profits, with government, with corporate organisations to help them to enhance their social media. So Colin, over to you.
Excellent. Look, thanks so much. And look, really excited to be speaking with you all today. So thanks for having me on. Look, we've got heaps to talk through today and go through. So look, absolutely feel free to hit me with questions in the box. And if there's anything topical, I'll answer it straight away. But look, I'll take you through now, and Katarina's spot on. So we work with a large range of organisations, and I love working with not-for-profits. I think social media is a great channel and a great area to get real impact, like so to have a much bigger bite than you might be able to have otherwise. So let's kick into it. Look, I'm going to roll through a couple of points. And look, number one, I just wanted to say that marketing has changed a lot. And so there's three things, is that there's been a big shift. So number one, the move from mass advertising like TV and radio into a lot more targeted approaches. So if you're looking for donations or looking for partnerships or looking for memberships, it's a lot smarter marketing to go exactly for the individual you're after. Number two, I'd argue, is absolutely that shift from kind of going with your gut instinct as to what will work and being a lot more focused on fact-based or data-based decisions. And look, third and finally, in my world, it is so much about that data and collecting those analytics and knowing how people are liking or disliking, what you're doing. And so this all absolutely begins with knowing your audience. And I know, I'm very confident looking at the names of the people on this webinar. I can see some really senior people, really knowledgeable in this space. And I suppose the one big point, and I really encourage people to imagine the room you're in right now. And if you have a look at the door of the room you're in and imagine 100 people lined up at that door to speak with you, and these people are the perfect people for you, like your ideal prospects. So they might be your partners, they might be sponsors, they might be donating, they could be future members. And my point here is I really want you to focus on those specific individuals, not just a nameless, faceless mass of 10,000 people. Look at that first person. Do they have kids? How old are they? What job will they be in? What are their needs? What are their desires? What are their preferences? So I do not feel you can do a good job on social media until you know with a pretty laser-like focus exactly who you're after. And I've been and stalked a number of your organisations and had a look at a number of you as well. And just about all of you have a number of different people who'd be in that group. It isn't just one set that you're after. So there'll be a number of, whether they are partners or future staff or that kind of thing. So really think about who you're trying to hit. And once you're comfortable with that customer or that prospect or who you're after, it is absolutely critical you're really aware of exactly what it is you want to offer to them. And so knowing that proposition, and so the one I've put up in commercial focus, but the concept is correct. And it's really knowing that, why would they support the Cancer Council Queensland or the Asthma Foundation? Like, what exactly do you offer in that sponsorship or in that donation or in that package? Like, what exactly do you provide, and why is that different to get their dollar or their buy-in? It's really important you know them and you know what you have to offer them. So they're kind of the two big gates that I see in terms of forming your thinking before you can do a great job. And look, this third one I just wanted to touch on is that best practice today is that it's quite in a number of you have got quite a few social media channels. Some of you have got one, some of you have got zero. And so what I always recommend in terms of best performing is that when you've got an article or a video or an ad or whatever it might be, I just about always recommend that that would live on your website. So a website is still kind of the sun in the solar system, like it's still the center. And so I'd absolutely recommend that things live there, and social media is where so if we produce a great video about trying to drive donations, for example, that would live on our website. We might put some words around it, and then we'll go and post through each of our social media channels, the relevant ones, and put a really nice, attractive teaser or blurb to drive them back to your website where you can capture their details or capture that next step. So in terms of a flow, that is what I'd be thinking about. So if you're not doing that now, so if you don't have a news section on your website or a latest information or a media center, I'd absolutely recommend that as well. So when you do get traffic or interest on your on social media, you've actually got somewhere to send them. And so look, what I'll do now is just jump straight into social media. And today we're going to focus. There's 3 channels, and it's the 3 I've just brought up that we are going to focus on. And these have been extremely deliberately chosen in that, look, I think I've worked out as an agency, I think we've spent just over $40 million on social media programs, projects, and advertising. And these 3 have been selected for one reason only, and that is they actually give results. And when I say results, that is actual donations or actual partnerships or actual memberships. So there's a lot of social media channels out there, Snapchat absolutely being one of them, that are a great novelty and probably a bit of fun, but very hard to drive an outcome through or drive an attendance to your events or whatever it is you focus on. And so, look, I'll just give a quick assessment, and I've noticed just about all of you are across these 3. But look, Facebook, my statement here, this is number 1 on the planet today, whether we like it or not. It's got the highest usage, penetration, and look, just a factual statement is it absolutely has the best advertising platform right now. Just the detail, the complexity, the options are far superior to anything else right now. So Facebook is number 1, and particularly good when you're going out to consumers or mums and dads or the general market. Number 2 is Twitter, and Twitter is very much a hybrid platform, so to talk to both consumers and businesses. The advertising platform is pretty woeful. It does have one, but very hard to get results from it, I've found. I'd love to hear any questions on that, or if anyone's had success, I'd love to hear about it. But look, I constantly test it and not as good. And look, thirdly is LinkedIn, and this is the social media platform of professionals. Like, this is the business to business one, and so there's no other kind of business to business platform out there, to be honest. Like, there is not a number 2. And so we'll talk about LinkedIn as well, and that also has an advertising platform that is quite expensive, about $5 per click, compared to Facebook, which comes in closer to about $1 per click. And we'll talk a little bit about that as well. Now, I just wanted to say, look, in Australia, and I've noticed just about all of you are very focused on Australia or even state or territory based. The next 3 platforms in line are Google+, YouTube, Instagram, and probably Snapchat or Pinterest is next. there's about 60 platforms in Australia that are quite prominent. These 6 or 7 are the ones I'd be making an active decision for your organisation on whether you're on these, because like I would argue we're no longer in a position to dictate to our users or prospects or members, where we talk to them, they choose. So that these platforms is where they are. And my final point on this is, if you're just starting out with social media or just kind of playing with it or potentially struggling with it due to resources or whatever it may be, I would absolutely recommend committing to one platform first. So build one mountain. And so whether that is Facebook or whether that is LinkedIn, I'd make a positive election to focus your efforts on one versus, I've worked with many companies who say, yep, we want these 12, let's start them all at once. And that just cannot succeed. So that is absolutely what I'd recommend. And I'll get on to that point about resourcing and time as well. So love any questions on that area. And it's probably the number one question I get is we just don't have time. So let's jump into it. So look, Facebook is number one. And so I had a look through a number of the Facebook profiles. And so Woden Community Service is doing a really nice job and some really nice posts there. And so step one on Facebook is absolutely build a good profile. And so it's actually very simple. And looking through a number of your profiles, there's some really great ones out there. And so Woden Community Service, has some great, good job, Mark. Yeah, so it's actually got 15 reviews. So that's the Facebook reviews. And the 3 primary components of a Facebook profile. So number one is the profile photo, which is the little white image with WCS on it. The big cover photo, which has got the 10 squares in it. And then there's actually an about section. So making sure you go and fill that in with things like your website, your phone number, and actually what your organisation does. And I felt like with Woden Community Service, I felt by going to look at their about section, I felt like I am very confident in knowing what they do. Like I feel like they've done a really nice job there. And so a couple of the other things I was looking at, so the reviews I mentioned, so 15 reviews at 4.5 stars is excellent. 856 likes is a great place to start. And some really nice content on there. And probably just one suggestion to have a look at for this one is I'd have a look at this Facebook profile, and for each of yours is try it on a mobile. And so 56% of visits to Facebook in Australia today are via a mobile. And so when we look at, if you see these boxes at the top, so the word integrity and responsiveness, they actually get cut off on a mobile and get a bit smaller. So it still looks fine, so don't stress, but just checking it or testing it on a mobile is a really good idea. So making sure your profile is nicely done is the first step. Number 2, and we're going to come back and have a look at this, but one of my biggest recommendations is that Facebook ads right now are just phenomenal. And what I mean by that, and look, I don't get paid by Facebook at all, but in terms of, we're working with a few hundred clients, and this is probably where 70 to 80% of budget is spent, and including not-for-profits. And so I've put up an example precisely of what these Facebook ads are. And if you haven't done Facebook ads before, I would recommend starting with the type of ad called a Facebook boosted post. And so this one in front of us, and so you can just Google that if you haven't worked with those before, this is one in front of us. And so this is a not-for-profit group actually in Canberra where For Purpose is based. So it's called the CBR Innovation Network. And so we promoted an event. So it was a workshop. And these were charged tickets. And on the right, you can see we'd spent $34 on advertising and we got 52 booked tickets. So 52 people paid. I think this workshop was $300 or $400, which isn't cheap, right? But from $34, we sold this out within a few days. And so Facebook is really pushing this out. And so we were able to target people in marketing or people who own a business or people in not-for-profit who are interested in this space. So it's a really great targeting tool. And a second example was actually for a similar type of workshop, actually. And you can see, and this is for a development or a coding group called Hacked. So you can see an example of the ad on the right side. So it was $99 for a ticket for this one. And I noticed a number of events and training and, these types of things, conferences. And so you can see on the left, so $91.29 was spent here, and 270 students bought it, or their parents bought a ticket for this event. So it sold out within a couple of days. So it's just a really nice medium, and I'm really aware that in not-for-profit, it's quite hard to get budget. Sometimes it just doesn't exist. But, for relatively small amounts, you can really roar like a lion instead of kind of being like a mouse doing things for free. So it's Facebook ads, are really punching hard at the moment. So it's a good angle to go on if you haven't done that yet. So look, just one final point on these Facebook ads I wanted to mention is that there's actually 16 different types of ads right now. So there's a lot of them, and they're just going to keep growing. So the one I've recommended for each of you first, if you haven't done much before, is Facebook boosted posts. However, like if you do events, or if you have an app, or if you've got videos, you can see on this slide, there's actually a number of different options depending on what you want to do. Or if you've got a storefront or a shop front that you have people visit or drop in, there's ways to drive visits. So, and these are amazing just to test and trial. But look, I'd start with the boosted posts is where I'd be beginning. Number 2 is Twitter. And so with Twitter, the primary, and so once again, and so yeah, Capital Giving and Leslie looks like they're doing a great job with Twitter. And so I've put up the example, and once again, the first step with Twitter is to build a great profile. And once again, very simple. So a number of you I noticed, or I don't believe, have Twitter profiles or quite basic Twitter profiles. And so so Capital Giving's done a great job. So you can see the background image, it's kind of that rainbow or painted image, beautiful profile picture. And then once again, that about section just below the Capital Giving title, we can see, about what they do. They're located in Canberra, they've got the URL and when they've joined. So yeah, and look, the content on here, is really well done. Good followers, and it raised a really interesting question for me as well, is that and so, yeah, Leslie's doing a really nice job here, and Twitter's a funny one in terms of being a personal profile, so actually being about Leslie Harris or being about the organisation. And in social media right now, and as the name kind of suggests, in the term social, individual or personal profiles tend to perform well, much better than organisation or branded profiles. So, the moment I saw Leslie's smiling face, and I know I'm, can communicate directly with somebody, that's someone I can have a relationship with. It's very hard for me personally to have a relationship with an organisation, so Capital Giving, and it just brings out that authenticity, that genuine view that and Leslie's someone, I'd be very interested in meeting because I feel like I know her based on this content. And so for not-for-profits, I've absolutely seen, 10, 11 times higher cut through using your top people or using your spokespeople or figureheads to relate or build relationships with the market versus just a brand out there. So I think this was really nicely done. So really good job, Leslie. So I'm sure we'll catch up in Canberra. So I live in Canberra as well. So, yeah, so that was a really nice job. So once again, Twitter profiles are quite easy to build and quite quick. One tool I wanted to throw at you, and this is a completely free tool. So these slides will all be available for all of you. So we'll make sure these are sent out to you if you don't manage to write something down. But this tool, I've got the link down the bottom called Follower Wonk. So it's a strange name, and all this does very specifically is that in here, using Follower Wonk, I've typed in the term asthma, and I've typed in the location Australia. And so I noticed we had, I think it's the Asthma Foundation. And so all this tool does, it only does one thing, is it searches Twitter. So it puts Twitter, because Twitter, to me is quite chaotic. Like, somewhat, it is quite chaotic and a bit schizophrenic. And what this tool does is really brings order to Twitter. So I've gone and done a search on asthma. So you can see right at the top, the location Australia. And so, and you can see it's brought up the most influential Twitter profiles by followers on the topic of asthma. And so these are absolutely people or groups that the Asthma Foundation would want to be in touch with. So some will be competitors, so they might not want to hit them. But it's a really good way to go out and look at exactly who you'd want to follow and retweet and work with. And so, if you're the Cancer Council, you might go and look up cancer. And the other amazing use of Follow Wonk, and to be honest, the biggest reason I use it, and I'd recommend many of you use it, is to find media. And so I might type in that search box, journalist, media, editor, this kind of thing, and straight away you can find the biggest people at Win News and ABC Radio and all these kinds of people, because many of you have a great message, and as cause-driven or not-for-profit, using that traditional media is a great way to get your message out, and finding these people can be hard, but Twitter is one of the places I find is best to get them. So I think it's a really good way to do it. Yeah. So so I've just had a question. So I've just seen that. So from Sienna. So it's a great question. Do you know any Australian research on which platforms are used? Look, great research on which platforms are used for what age groups. This is a beautiful question. There's a brilliant piece that's just come out about a month ago by Ernst & Young, and it's called Digital Australia, so a Digital Australia report. And that is the best I've seen in a long time. So it was finished about a month ago, and really good data. So I'll absolutely get the link to that one for you. So really good question, Sienna. That's great. So look, Follow Wonk, if you haven't used that before, it's a brilliant way to go and follow these people that are relevant to you and your organisation versus, Twitter is, we can get 50,000 followers in no time with a whole lot of techniques, but in your world, I absolutely recommend that quality. So people who are interested in ambassadors for asthma are a lot more interested and useful to your organisation than just random people on Twitter. A really good tool for that. And so, look, I just wanted to throw in some points of interest on Twitter as well, because step one was really to build that profile. Step two is to get that followership, so to get people on board and actually follow what you're doing. And I just wanted to run through some data for you. And this is number one, the most important really, is the three stats down the bottom are saying tweets with hashtags receive double the engagement than those without. Tweets with one or two hashtags have 21% higher engagement, whereas if you have three or more, so sometimes people put out tweets with lots of hashtags, they start to bomb, they just do not do as well. And then thirdly, if you have too many hashtags, you'll actually drop your engagement. Yeah, they're going to bomb, they're not going to do well. The next one is just a bit more fun. It's just about the most shareable phrases. This is what people like on Twitter, or the phrases and words they use. So just interesting to understand the culture or the vibe of Twitter around the content or the tweets you post. Length of tweet, you can only have 140 characters, but this data from Twitter says, medium length, so 71 to 100 characters is better performing. And also, this one's a really big one, is that on Twitter, just always have an image or a video or a link. So have an asset or something with it. Text-only tweets don't perform anywhere near as well as those with images and that kind of thing. So just make sure you've got media with it. Look, and I just want to cover this one as well. And look, a number of you, I'm really conscious that you're in the space of getting membership, getting donations, getting partners, getting sponsors. But this is a really nice piece, just saying if you're actually selling things or merchandise or memberships or tickets to events, this kind of format for tweets is the best performing if you're looking for that direct response kind of area. And so time-driven, You see it, these actually don't have images, and it's really to not distract from a key message or a key call to action. So I found that quite interesting as well. So these are formats that you can try and use. Yeah. Yeah, and look, number three platform I wanted to touch on is LinkedIn. And so, look, I found most of you, or many of you, a few organisations I went and looked up, and I didn't find it easy to find who the key representatives were, but LinkedIn is absolutely that number one. So Leslie's featured again, so she's done a really good job. So it really is that great spot to find professionals or to find senior people. And I'll just hit you with three stats on this. So number one is that 83% of professionals in Australia have a LinkedIn profile. 67% are active, which means they're checking it 3 times or more per week. So they're actually using it. And the final stat, and see, these are actually in the EY, that EY report I recommended. And so statistic 3 is that the average income of people in Australia on LinkedIn is $109,000, which tells you quite senior people. So it's an amazing salary. So it's people that, so if you are looking for top-end sponsors or people you want to work with or potentially sell to, it's really a great spot for that. And so with LinkedIn, so I've used Leslie as an example here. So having a beautiful profile is absolutely step one. And what that means to me, so having a nice, set my own profile in there, that's great. So number one is having a good photo. So smiling, head and shoulders, so people can identify you. And I thought Leslie did a really nice job here as well. So photo is number one. Number two is this box I've highlighted, which is called your headline. And so this is just 120 characters. And this is really where you call out your key skills or key focus. And this really serves up into Google and into LinkedIn of how you'll personally be found. And so these are, these are absolutely indexed by Google. So and focused on personal profiles. So I've put a few examples of photos in there. So there's a huge range out there. So second is a really nice example. Some of the others you can see are a bit fuzzy, a bit black and white. There's a picture of a truck there. So there's a big range of photos out there. So I'd really get it as professional and pretty sharp looking as possible. And look, I've just put an example of what not to do. So people are, they're pretty shallow, judgmental. They'll assess you very quickly. And if you don't take it seriously like this guy, it turns people off pretty quickly. The data, it absolutely supports that. Make sure you've got your contact details there. So huge number of LinkedIn profiles do not have an email address and a phone number and a website updated. So when somebody like a CEO of another organisation looks you up, make sure you've got your details there. So if they want to speak with you, make sure you're there, or your CEO or partner of your organisation. So make sure it's there. And I'd also recommend there's a section that's called your summary in LinkedIn. And so this is a really key approach I recommend for almost all of you on this webinar is writing an open letter to those 100 people lined up at the door waiting to talk to you. And I've put a bit of an example in there of what performs the best. So based on data, it's really, calling out exactly the pain points and the people you're looking to target. Number two is establish your credibility, expertise and experience. I've noticed a number of you have many years of experience in what you're doing. Number three is definitely position your organisation. So say what you do, what you stand for, what you can offer, and then also add that call to action. So it's a really nice piece because people are absolutely looking you up. So make sure you've got a really nice position there. Make sure your experience is up to date. So your current role, you have your current title, and actually give a description. So there's a really nice one. I think this is from YWCA Canberra from Joanna who works there. So this is a really nice description of the role she's doing. So lots of people do not have their current role and current details on there. So absolutely have that updated. Skills and endorsements. These are these one-click endorsements. And look, just the final one I'd note on LinkedIn is having these things called recommendations, and these are like written profiles. So written reviews of your performance or how you go. And if you've just got 3 to 5 of these, and if you follow these 7 things I've just given to you on LinkedIn, you will have a top 5% LinkedIn profile in Australia. So there's 86 elements on LinkedIn to fill in, but these 7 are the ones that will really give you punch. So really make you show up high in LinkedIn and on Google. So they're the ones I'd absolutely recommend. And I just wanted to touch on LinkedIn company pages. So an awesome question has just come through. Sorry, I have to go to that. So thanks, Marie. So those endorsements, I'll just jump back to that. These skills and endorsements, awesome question. I dislike these a lot, to be honest, and I think that's maybe where your question's leading. They're a bit tacky, they're a bit cheap, but unfortunately LinkedIn really likes them, and they index them highly. So if you've got more of these, your profile will do well. But I do not like these much, Marie. So that's my view. Like I don't think they add a huge amount of value. So look, I'll keep going. So but open to any questions, of course. So company pages are another thing on LinkedIn, and I've noticed just about all of you have company pages on LinkedIn. And I absolutely think it's worth having these. Have a nice description, the about us, have your logo, post content on here, but these do not perform well on LinkedIn. So personal profiles, so like Leslie's, is going to perform probably 15 to 20 times better than a company page. So there's some really nice ones out there, including this one. So YWCA Adelaide, I really like this one. But look, it is not worth a huge amount of effort, is what I recommend. And when I say in terms of results, that really is about booking people into events or, getting memberships. Absolutely happy to hear any comments to the contrary. I'd love to hear if people have managed to crack this one. But yeah, look, we've had very limited success through using LinkedIn company pages. So yeah, so that look, do have one. So look, on LinkedIn, so I've just gone through the elements or the items to build a great LinkedIn profile. Number 2, so step 2 is on LinkedIn, and this is absolutely the value of LinkedIn. And if you use it for nothing else but this is the gold. So if all of you use Google today to find websites, LinkedIn is the way to find humans. So it is the biggest directory of professionals on the planet right now, and it's completely free. So you do not need to pay for this feature. And what I've done, so on the screen here, and I'm happy to just send the link to the instructions to use this search function. So I just typed it, so using the search box at the top of LinkedIn, I just typed in CEO. So if I'm looking for chief executive officers, and many of you would be to work with other organisations or get memberships, and I've just clicked the button on the right to say Canberra. So I was looking at Canberra at this point. And in the grey little numbers, about a third of the way down, it says I found 1,936 CEOs in Canberra. So within a couple of seconds, I'd identified, so we can see the third result with Carrie Ann Leeson. So she's the CEO of Lifeline Canberra. And so for each of you, like if you're in asthma or cancer or, whatever it is you might be looking at, or women's issues, it's a really great way to identify people right down to that one-to-one level, to tee up coffee meetings or to identify exactly who you're looking to deal with. And so I absolutely recommend this. And when you find the right people, so you might be in Melbourne or Queensland or wherever you might be, or Australia-wide, you can identify these people. And I absolutely recommend connecting with them. Just go direct as yourself. And I've just done a little example here. So you only get 300 characters, and you'll get a copy of this. But so Carrie Ann Leeson was absolutely of interest to me. And so I've written her a nice little note to say, I've come across your profile. I noticed you're the CEO at Lifeline Canberra. We're connected to these two people, and I've said on Joanna's behalf, I'm the head of market at the YWCA Canberra. It'd be great to connect. And so this kind of personalized, really shows, we've researched them, this kind of approach, connecting with these people on LinkedIn, will get you about a 60 to 70% connection rate. So these people that you want to meet with or want to engage with or want to have a relationship with, this is a great way to do it. On the right-hand side, I've given you a bit of a template to work with. Absolutely personalize it. Don't feel like you have to use this cookie cutter. Make it your own. People really appreciate that time you would invest. But look, this works extremely well. So this is the best performing kind of message to people on LinkedIn for sure. So really good approach there. So I've just been banging on about that LinkedIn is brilliant to research and search humans, to find people. So that is, my favourite feature, but my second favourite feature that most people don't know about is that on LinkedIn, so if I was Leslie, and Leslie may have done this already, but there's actually a feature in LinkedIn where you can export, so take all of your connections off LinkedIn. And so the slide I've got up in front of you, I just downloaded my connection. So I've got a few thousand in there. And so down the bottom, I've got the instructions on how to do that. So you just request your data and you can get the first name, last name, email address, phone number, company, job title. So if you build up a beautiful list or connections on LinkedIn of all the event managers, if you target them, or all the asthma ambassadors, or whoever it is you might be wanting to work with, you can actually get their details and, send them a beautiful one-to-one email, or, you can use these in your database. I do not recommend bulk emailing them. The spam laws will cut you out on that, but one-to-one, you can absolutely have that engagement. So someone like Leslie, who's got a huge number of connections, can absolutely go and download and save those connections. So if you do nothing else from this webinar, I absolutely recommend slide 36. Export your LinkedIn connections and just save it somewhere. LinkedIn's removed this feature before, so I recommend you do it because it may disappear again. But so it's a really good feature. Yeah, so I'm going to jump on to the next part now. So far on the webinar, we've talked about just kind of why social media was the first point. Number two was looking through Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn, and my message is really build your profile first, like get a good profile, a bit like a website, like you're going to build a nice website before you start driving traffic to it. So chapter one was about building those profiles, but chapter two is what social media is all about today. It is all about the content. So the information you put out or distribute via social media is the absolute gold. And so, this is where I'd be focusing my attention, my vision, my direction. And so with content marketing, just about all organisations I deal with, all the way from, one-person businesses right through to huge government departments, a huge topic they say is we don't have anything to post. We don't have any content. People aren't interested. Social media is not for us. And so these next two slides have taken me about 9 years to write. And these are the top 50 topics for LinkedIn and for social media. So if you're not sure what to write about or what content people want to read, this is the answer. So I update this all the time. So there's 2 slides worth of kind of topics and areas that test best with users. And what I mean by that, these are the ones that do drive the messages, the likes, the shares, and the comments. And so I just want to talk about a couple of these just to make it a bit more granular for you. So, it's hard to reference these. So, third last line in the middle is what is a customer success story that you can share, or a member success story, or somebody you've worked with, or a partner, or whatever it might be. And this actually may be your entire content plan. So, sharing case studies, sharing information, sharing personal stories, sharing recovery stories, whatever it might be, or about your cause or whatever. And I suppose my big thing here, and, I was really attempting to focus you on those 100 people that are lined up at your door, and think about the needs of those people, not your own. And I know that's very easy to say. And what these topics represent is their needs and what they're interested in. So, very rarely are they going to care exactly what you care about. People are just by instinct quite selfish, right? They care about their own needs. And these topics, I'll just jump on to the second. Actually, I'll give you a couple more from this page. So I talked about what's the customer success story. The other really big one here is what are the biggest myths in your industry or biggest misconceptions, like that people believe. Another one on here, probably the next big performer, is what's a hard truth that your members need to hear, or statistics. Like this kind of stuff really does well. And I've just jumped onto the next slide. So slides 38 and 39 are these topics. And these do exceptionally well. So what are the biggest secrets in your industry? Share a talk or a presentation that you've given. What is the most innovative products or services you've seen, or what's coming next? These types of areas. And I'm sure I hope when you look through this list, you're like, oh, yeah, that actually is quite interesting, or yes, I could use that. And so you'll see groups using these. But yeah, look, this is a great starting point. So collect. So thanks, Leslie. So collecting donor testimonials. So and so that is just brilliant content. Is getting testimonials, and as much as you can get the personal stories or getting the kind of the behind the scenes, kind of gritty stuff performs very well on social media. So these are great prompters if you're unsure. And I suppose my biggest piece of advice here is absolutely think about what your donors or next member wants to hear, not what you want to hear. So just you apply that type of thinking, and these really hit on that. So look, I absolutely hope that all of you in your minds right now, hopefully not doing emails and doing other things, tuning in, but look, I hope that every one of you is thinking, this guy seems to know what he's talking about, but we don't have time. We do not have the resources. This is all great, but who's going to do it? And so that's what I want to focus on right now, is this resourcing and your seconds, because I'm spent a lot of time in not-for-profits, and if nothing else, it is the seconds that count. So your minutes, each minute or each dollar, right? So they're equivalent. And so this is exactly what I recommend to you, to do social media in the shortest possible time, but to get results. Because if you if you're really slap happy or sloppy with it, I can almost guarantee you will not get good results. It's very rare. What I do recommend is this. So around content, very few of you are content organizations, like you are not publishers. This slide here these are all publishers. And so for your industry or area or segment or niche, absolutely use the journals and the newspapers and the radio programs and, all the media outlets that just have tens of people sitting there every day producing 20 pieces of content. So absolutely tap into groups that are already writing about asthma or about cancer or about women's issues, tap into stuff that's already there. So this is actually my live list of groups that I use and share to put content out there, like really credible, great content, great quality content. And what I reckon, this is specifically how I do it with the majority of clients, is I just use the free product called Google Alerts. So you can just type into Google Alerts. So I'd love to hear who uses Google Alerts. So feel free to shout out if you use it or if you use another way to find content. But I've got Google Alerts set up. And so for each of you, I would absolutely set up the term, each of the keywords exactly for you. So if it is So if you are about asthma or community services or mental health or legal services, absolutely set up the keywords, and every day Google Alerts will send you an email saying, here is everything in the world of asthma. Here's what's happening in America, or here's what, and so Google is searching every video, every article, every news article, every PDF, every report, saying exactly what's new, what's the latest. And so I have them set to once a day, and it serves the content up for me. So, because I actually, I very rarely have time to go and search all those websites I just showed you on the slide 40. There's a whole lot there. I don't go and sit and look at those sites. I use Google Alerts to go and serve up to me the best things I want to talk about. And so for me, like, I talk a lot about, social media and digital marketing and that kind of thing. But for each of you, you've each got your own purposes. And so also just in the bottom right-hand corner of this slide, so if you, so I can see a few, so Fiona and Connie have used Google Alerts, that's great. So absolutely, it costs $0. So just get it going, or get your marketing people, or it's probably yourselves. Just start, just get using, just set up a couple of keywords. So bottom right-hand corner of this slide are two of my other favourite kind of hacks, right, for content. And so the first link is Google Alerts. The next one is a tool called Piktochart. And all this does, and it's free as well, you can get a paid version, but what this does is a drag and drop tool to build infographics. So it's awesome. So you would have all seen on social media great kind of stats and content around an industry or around what's happening. So it's absolutely wild. So anybody can use it. It's really, really simple. And the third one is probably the best, and so I'd love to hear if anyone's using Canva. And so Canva is a free graphic design tool. And so it's completely drag and drop. So all these beautiful quote banners you see and all these beautiful images or branded beautiful pieces that companies do, a huge number are using Canva, right? It's just phenomenal. So I can see a whole lot of you are saying we love Canva. Good on you, Mark. Consider that's great. Yeah, look, I'm addicted to it. So, you definitely don't need to be a graphic designer, but people will believe you are. So for not-for-profits who don't have these big budgets, you probably don't have the luxury of, hiring a graphic designer. Absolutely get on with Canva. Just get in, get your hands on, get dirty, and just use it. Like, it's got beautiful templates in there. Yeah, you can tell I'm a raving fan. It's magic. So, yeah, look, and so these are some of the absolute hacks that I'd be or not hacks, but just this is exactly how I do it. And so in terms of seconds, in terms of resourcing, I spend about 10 minutes per post. That's what I aim for. And so that includes going through my Google Alerts, I would always read an article, check that it's relevant, those 100 people would like it, make sure that I'm adding an insight to it. So I do not blindly share stuff. I would make sure that if I'm sharing something about, the future of asthma treatment, for example, I don't just blindly share that. I would say, love these 8 points about the future. I think points 9 and 10 should be these two things. So show your expertise. And I wouldn't share competitor stuff. Many of you are not, potentially don't have competitors, right? You're out there, working with a community or a market. And also, like, I would very rarely be, and I don't think I saw anything from any of you about being offensive, right? The tone, I always recommend being Disney-like, which means anything Disney produces is not going to offend a 2-year-old child or a 70-year-old grandmother, right? It's going to leave a smile on your face. So around content, that is absolutely how I would be thinking. And so what's going through my brain, this is exactly what I'm thinking, is that I'd make sure it's related to the membership or the event or donations I'm focused on. I'd absolutely think about that prospect first. I'd make sure that if I'm running a for-purpose organisation, that I'm adding value. I don't blindly share stuff. And I rarely expect anything in return. And what I mean by that is if I share great content or put out really good stuff that people find is useful, they will like it, they will share it, they will donate. I rarely say, donate now, please share, tell everyone. Occasionally I would, but it can turn people off a little bit. So Connie just asked a perfect question. So what do you think of people who ask questions on LinkedIn to engage people? So asking things like, what do you think about? So look, probably two things on this. Number one is you want to make sure you've got a big following first, because the worst thing is putting questions out there, respond, and getting nothing, like a tumbleweed. It just kind of demeans or diminishes your brand a little bit. So first of all, I'd make sure I've got a big following. And number two is I'd be really conscientious to make sure what I'm talking about is a good topic. So, if I go and post something saying, look, shopping for saucepans at the moment, what brand should I buy and how much should I spend? That should be a tumbleweed post, right? Like, it's just not of interest to my market, bit random, not engaging. So I'd be really talking about topics. Talking to your donors or talking to your members about things that really affect them. So that topic or content. So a bit like at a party, right? Like or a barbecue, if someone crashes up to you and says, "Oh, I'm going to buy a new car. What car should I buy?" People, like, it's a bit self-serving, may not be of interest, is probably going to, it's probably not going to be the most engaging topic. Potentially could be. But if you talk to people about, tell me what you like about cars and, what you're interested in and what drives your decision, it's a bit more about them, what they're interested in versus being as self-serving. So I hope I'm communicating that okay. But yeah, I suppose it's about getting their needs right. So, and the last couple of things I wanted to go through is one thing on social media that actually really does matter is about your timing. And so for each of the platforms, I've put in kind of the general timing for each platform across a population of what performs best. But absolutely test for yourself. So for my business, Facebook and LinkedIn are my two monsters. They do enormously well for me. And Sunday nights, like 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Facebook is my best time. And for each of your organisations might be quite different. But as a general rule, before and after work are very good. So if you look at the LinkedIn times, that's probably what I roughly stick to for all platforms, to be honest. So yeah, so just quite a point of interest. So just want to do a really quick recap, just to put together what we've talked through, is that step one for each platform was really about building your profile. Number two was absolutely about content. So both building your followers, so for all platforms, building likes or building followers or building connections is absolutely key. And the way to do that, like the secret, is absolutely content. And I've seen it time and time again, is that it's absolutely one cracking good piece of content is better than 20 poor pieces of content or ill-conceived content. So quality is everything. And step three for me, and this is an example for LinkedIn, is once you've connected with Carrie from Lifeline, you've shared some beautiful content, I might wait 6 to 8 weeks. And then on LinkedIn, I would press message. So I would go and message Carrie, and I might write a message exactly like this. So I'd say, we've been connected on LinkedIn. I would always Google these people. And so I Googled Carrie Ann Leeson from Lifeline, and I said, yep, I've read your article in the Canberra Weekly, which is just a local magazine in Canberra, just about the statistics for Lifeline. And I've said, yep, not sure if you're aware, but I work at YWCA Canberra, and we work with women's issues. I'm aware that you're CEO at Lifeline Canberra. I was wondering whether you'd be interested in catching up to talk about some joint marketing activities. So I'd be really, specific about what I'm after. And if you know the activities, I'd even outline those. And I'd say it'd be great to hear more about your plans. And I might even say, are you happy to catch up for a coffee at this time, at this place, and that kind of thing. So I'd really enact or, create those relationships. So someone like Leslie, who we looked through her LinkedIn profile, I would absolutely be hitting up other key people that she would like to deal with. Like if it is someone from a corporate or someone in government, this one-to-one hit of exactly who you're after is a great way to engage. And so this kind of approach can have some really good, great hit rates. So I get probably 40 to 50% of people about 70% will reply to this, and about 40 to 50% of people write back to messages of this nature and say, yeah, love to catch up. Let's catch up here and absolutely turn up. And yeah, great relationship is built from there. So look, it's a really good way to put it together. Yeah, so look, so yeah, and look, I'll just finish off just the last couple of minutes, and I'll come back to those couple of questions. Some great questions there from Connie. So look, I love talking to groups. I especially love working with not-for-profit and for-purpose groups. Look, what I would absolutely love off the back of, so I'm thrilled that you attend and you enjoy this kind of thing, but what this kind of thing is really about for me is about action and implementation. So on slide 46, I would absolutely love to see each of you take action. So, you know, and whether it is just 1, 2 or 3 things you've got from this discussion, whether it's Follow a Wonk or Canva or LinkedIn, export your connections, I'd love to see action. So actually put this stuff into practice and just give yourself a few things, set a date, and just absolutely get it done. So I love seeing change is the big one. So I really want to inspire and empower you to go out and make a difference for your organisation. So yeah, and look, that is the finish of the kind of discussion points I had. So look, I'll just jump on to the straight onto questions. So absolutely feel free to ask any questions on anything we've talked about or any content there. So I'm absolutely on the chat. So I'll just start going through those. So so Kate's just asked a great question. So okay, so what about regularity of Facebook posts? I've heard that at least once a week is more unsuccessful. Is it more important to wait for the right content? So look, it's a great question. So specifically on that, look, 3 times a week is kind of where I'd be going for a minimum, like for something like Facebook to get that be front of mind. And look, and is it more important to wait for the right content? And the answer is absolutely yes. I very rarely post just because I haven't done my 3 for a week. Like some weeks I'll find 10 amazing things, some weeks I'll find 1. And so for you to become a trusted source of amazing stuff is your goal. So great question. And the frequency is one to work with. So yeah, it's not easy. So and just an interesting point on that is that if you yeah, LinkedIn, for example, if you post more than 3 times a week, it actually, the data says that people perceive you not to be working, so that you can actually oversaturate as well. So I found that quite interesting. Yeah, so Catherine's had to run, thank you. So Leslie, so I absolutely do face-to-face training. So I work with groups, like so do one day kind of boot camps to just get people in, working on laptops and get stuff done. And so I run courses all over Australia and Asia Pacific and that kind of thing. So look, I really love this stuff, and you can probably hear from, you know, where I'm heading with this kind of thing. It is all about action and implementing. So like, I really hope you've enjoyed this content. I hope you've liked what we've talked about, but you know, it is ultimately about you getting on the computer or your marketing representative getting on and doing this stuff, implementing, failing, trying again, getting better, getting some success, you know, just getting in and getting it done. Like, and that is why I'd argue I'm, you know, pretty strong in the area of social media. I'd just argue I've made more mistakes than most people. I've tried so many things and, you know, keep making mistakes, and that's why I feel like I've built up a really good body of knowledge. So yeah, so look, thanks for all the great thanks coming through. Really appreciate it. So I'm really aware we're right up against time. So I'll yeah, so I might finish there. And so yeah, the slides will absolutely come through, and I'll send a link, that EY report, which is that digital report on the users. So I'll get that through. But look, absolutely let me know if you want anything else or anything I've mentioned, and absolutely happy to assist. So feel free to email me or give me a call. I'm always happy to assist. So yeah, so thanks so much for attending, everyone. Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. So thanks for having me, and we'll talk soon, I'm sure.
Thank you, Colin.
Yeah, thanks so much.
All the chat that everyone's really enjoyed this. I've shared a couple of the things that Colin was talking about in our Facebook group, so please jump on there and have a look. And thanks very much, Colin. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks everyone for taking the time out today to come along as well.